Yeah.
So Scott, let's get into your book. But first, run through, if you will. I've seen you talk about this in speeches. Talk about how the system is rigged. So if you got $1 million, great. If you got 5 million, 10 million, even better. Life gets easier because the way our tax system's set up.
Yeah, we have a very progressive tax system until you get to about the 99th percent. And essentially the people who get most damaged by our current tax code, it's lower and middle income households, their taxes have gone up slightly because of consumption, but not because of federal. The people that really get hurt are what I call the workhorses. And that are people who make an exceptionally good living, but it's all current income, and they live in a blue state. They might be paying 50 to 54% tax rate. I bet some of those people are on around this table right now. But if you can make the jump to light speed and invest in assets, stocks, housing, then your tax rate plummets. So in America, we've decided to try and create a super class of billionaires, and then if they win the gold medal, we're going to give them the silver and the bronze. Two biggest tax deductions, capital gains and mortgage interest. Who owns homes and stocks? People my age. Who doesn't know? Who rents and makes their money from current income? Young people. So we've decided that the wealthiest people in the world should get exceptionally more wealthy. Minimum wage.
I mean, if you want to get involved in stocks, it's never been so easy to get involved in stocks. Before, you had to pay a stockbroker and they'd make commission. Now you get like Robinhood, you have SoFi, you have all of these abilities to get involved in stocks and start investing now. Like at least $5, commission free, and start investing. But another problem is there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of poor advice on YouTube on where to invest your money, what stocks to pick. And people lose a lot of money when they pick their own stocks. Of course, a safe bet to increase your wealth, I mean, this is not advice, but it's typically been shown to be like index funds, investing into S&P 500, stuff like that. Now, real estate, now, good luck if you're young. Now, they got the shaft on that. Young people got the shaft on that. But like the cost of houses is blown up, and it just makes it harder and harder to achieve that. Like the pace of home ownership has significantly sprinted away from what wages are today. So when he says people his age, I mean, the youngest boomer is what, 60? I don't think he's 60. If he's 60 and over, he looks great, by the way. But I want to say he's a later Gen X. And the taxes that we keep paying, consumption, yeah, it's your sales tax. When you go to the grocery store and you buy food and you're taxed on that, on top of everything else, you're taxed like your income, your W-2. I mean, you don't pay taxes. They just take taxes from you. And that keeps going up. And of course, it's happening in blue states, right? If you live in like California, Colorado, New York, all these blue states, people who vote Democrat. I don't mean to get political, but Democrats typically vote or increase taxes on people, thinking it's going to be taxing the rich, but really what happens is that everyone gets taxed. And although there's a tax on rich people, they figure out a loophole to pay less taxes, just like the capital gains and real estate. Like, oh yeah, I'm paying more in taxes here, but they pay a lot less in capital gains and real estate. Of all the other properties they own and assets, they pay a lot less taxes, so it balances out. And in the end, they end up paying less taxes anyway. The rich always find a way. Nevertheless, regular people, me, you, everyone else watching this, we get shafted and pay the taxes. We pay more and more every freaking time. And now with inflation, that's a tax for people who work. The working poor, middle class, it's a tax for everyone. Like your purchasing power has gone to crap. But to be able for the government to pay off their debts better, they need inflation. That's why we have this inflation going on. I hope more young people realize this, that the government screws you over. And I hope you understand, like, this is what they do. They use these tactics. They say, we're going to cut taxes for you and increase taxes for the rich, when the exact opposite happens every single time. And you know what they always do? They blame the other side. They both do this, by the way, not just Democrats. I know I just said blue states. They are most known for increasing taxes, but unfortunately, those people who vote for those policies are now moving out of California and New York and going to other states and increasing taxes there, voting on the same policies of what they're running away from.
Stuck at 925. Stock market is screamed up. The average 70-year-old is 72% wealthier than they were 40 years ago. The average person under the age of 40 is 24% less wealthy. We are purposely transferring more wealth from the poor and middle class to the upper class to the super rich, and from young to old.
And you say in the book, which is true and alarming, but let's say a 30-year-old American in America right now is doing no better than his or her parents, then that's a new thing. in American history that you would think over time, we want to do better than the next generation, than the last generation. It's not happening anymore.
I think it all ties into what we're talking about on campuses. For the first time in our nation's history, a 30-year-old man or woman isn't doing as well as his or her parents were at 30. That is the social compact breaking down. People age.
I like graphs like this so we have a visualization of what's going on. Like the percentage of people at the age, let's say 30, where do they stack up against their parents when they were 30? A lot of them, most of them are doing worse. They're not doing better than their parents were when they were 30 years old. What truly bothers me about seeing a graph like this is that young people are going to lose their faith in capitalism because they feel like they can't win in capitalism. However, they're going to go and dig a deeper hole into looking into success and socialism, which is not the answer. That makes things worse. But it's just young people are just trying to figure out a way to win. That's why you see all the college students being all pro-socialism because they think that's their ability to win in life and just have a comfortable life when it's not. If anything, it's going to make it worse. Of course, capitalism, it's not perfect. It can be corrupted as we're seeing right now. And it's because of the politicians we have in office, both Republican and Democrat, who figure out ways to get rich now and make the next generation pay for it. It's just a terrible thing that's going on.
Age 30 to 34, 60% of them in 1990 had one child. Now it's 27%. People are opting out of America. They're not optimistic about it. They're not having kids. Young people aren't having sex. They're not
having kids because it's so expensive. That's like the number one reason why so many young people are not having kids. If money was not an issue, they'd be having kids, 100%. But because money is an issue, they're not having kids. Yet we still need a labor force, and what does America do? They get more immigrants. And then now the country's even more pissed because, hey, we don't want these policies. You're making life harder and harder for us each time.
They're not mating. The pool of emotionally and economically viable men shrinks every day, which lessens household formation. So we have a real issue. Young people are enraged. So it turns every cut, every movement into an opportunistic infection because, quite frankly, they are just pissed off. They look up, they see wealth, exceptional wealth across my generation and people in certain industries, and they are really struggling. Their purchasing power is going down, and the incumbents create artificial scarcity on campus. We take pride in rejecting 90% of our applicants, so the incumbents who already have a degree see their degree go up in value. We get very concerned with housing and traffic once we own the housing. Housing permits are sequestered from young people. Housing prices have gone from $290 to $420 in the last 4 years. So a young person, a house, stocks that I don't own skyrocket in value. Let's have COVID relief and flush the markets and take assets way up, because if 1 million people dying would be bad, it would be tragic if I got less wealthy. And we're doing it on their credit card. Young people have every reason to be enraged, and every issue they see, they look up, they get angry, and they see someone doing better than them. And then every day it is speedballed in their face that they are failing, that they are not doing as well as everyone around them. We have lost the script. Our kids are more anxious and more depressed and more obese and more addicted. And we have made a purposeful decision to let this happen by ensuring that people around this table stay wealthy at the cost of young people.
So Scott, what the social element of that's the economic element, the social elements that you mentioned, the happiness, the anxiety, all of those things, that kids aren't getting together anymore, that they're not having.
Let's talk on the economics before the social. It's crazy how certain assets have gone up in price. Not just housing, as you mentioned, went from $290,000 to $420,000. How far out of reach is that for people? That's so hard to get a house now. But assets like stocks, they used to be fairly affordable, but now, how stocks have boomed up, especially now, even in 2024, they keep going up like crazy. If you want to jump in and start investing, you're not going to jump as fast. Compared to someone who started 10 years ago, they're looking really good. People who started 10 years ago, but if you're starting now, who's to say that's going to keep going up? If anything, we're looking at a crash soon, but we don't know when that crash is going to be. And then before you know it, we're in a much worse shape than ever. And then you see on the news, further division of the employer and employee. Employees are asking for more money. Employers are saying, no, you should come back to the office. You don't deserve this much money. How dare you ask for more money? And then all it does is create a bigger divide when it's everyone who should be united and protesting against our representative officials in the government who keep screwing over the American people for their own personal gain. Go look up who your local representatives are or your Senate, write them a letter, pick it outside their office, do it peacefully, please. But it's just crazy how there's just further division to distract us, point the finger at each other, but not at the people who are actually causing the problem.
Having kids, what happened in one generation? Social media has to play a role in it, I'm sure, but what else do you see that has created this climate for this generation?
I think you have the most talented, well-resourced people in the world and companies trying to convince a young man that he can have a reasonable facsimile of life in his basement behind a screen. You don't need friends. Go on Reddit or Discord. You don't need to get a job. Go on Robinhood or Coinbase and trade crypto and stocks. You don't need to go through the rejection and the expense and the humiliation and working out and having a plan and humor and showering to get a romantic relationship. You have YouPorn. So we have an entire generation, especially of young men, who are out home sequestering from society and missing out on what it means. There's a reason romantic comedies are 2 hours and not 15 minutes. True victory in life is hard. Going out, meeting someone, finding mentors, finding mates, that stuff is hard, but that's what real victory in real life is like.
That is so true. To find a good mentor, a good mentor could be just your parents trying to guide you on wealth and success. But speaking for men, like, getting rejected sucks. I'm fully aware of it. Asking girls out, you get rejected. It might take you like 50 girls to ask out. 49 of them will reject you, but at least one will say yes. And it chips at you for a while. I get it. And that goes with everything else in life. You get rejected for a lot of job interviews. You get rejected in a lot of things. But guess what? You have to be resilient and get through it. You have to take each rejection as a learning opportunity of how you can do better. This way you can succeed. If you can't go through those rejections and you go through the path of least resistance, like go watch porn or something, you're going to end up not doing anything. You're going to feel rewarded for something that didn't require a lot of work to do. Things have value when you work so hard for it and you achieve it. But if you do things that are so easy, you're not going to achieve much. It's just all an illusion.
Because a lot of men feel rejected on dating apps. The number of jobs that are accessible to them has gone down. You have essentially a group of men who are saying, I want a low-risk entry into life, and they go down a rabbit hole. When they don't have social connections, and they don't get out, and they don't have the prospect of a romantic relationship, they're more prone to conspiracy theory, they're more prone to misogynistic content, they're less likely to believe in climate change, and some they become really bad citizens. We are producing too many of the most dangerous person in the world, and that is a young, broke, and lonely young man.
Why?
Most of them are the negative people in my own comment section. Read any comments on any social media. YouTube, Facebook, Reddit, all of them. The negative comments, most of them are men who are just unhappy in life. And they just want people to feel what they feel. That's why they say all the negativity. That's why they're so pissed. And all you can do is feel sorry for them. Don't respond back and get in an argument with them. Just understand they're in pain. They need help. But right now, our current economic system, our current government, they don't care about these people. And that's why he's saying they're more prone to watch, misogynistic material, which I see all the time, like all frustrations they have with women, like getting rejected, making fun of single moms because she was attracted to certain jerks and they're not a jerk and they should have dated me, but look what you get. That's what you get, and ha ha ha. But what it comes down is that men are just not happy and they don't really put in the effort to make themselves valuable. Exercise, have good health, strive for a better career, better education, make more money, figure out how to make more money. All that requires hard work, and it's not easy. But if you're able to accomplish that, you can accomplish a lot of things, including finding a mate. Now, don't get me wrong, things are harder to achieve. It's not impossible, but it definitely is harder. So I do feel in that area that it's harder to achieve. But going down the rabbit hole, that the list he just mentioned, that's not the way. There's better ways of conducting yourself.
Why is it that so many of these young people that you're talking about seem to head into life after going to 4-year schools or 2-year schools or whatever, head into life with a lack of financial literacy? They don't know anything about money or the growth of money. All they know is the absence of money.
I think we need to have in our curriculums in high school a class on adulting, My kid, I see it in my house. My kid can do integers and basic calculus, but he doesn't understand the interest on his credit card. So there's just some basic kind of financial literacy that we're not teaching. And when you start replacing civics with computer science, you lose a sense of the country and you start learning about programming. And when you don't talk about basic financial literacy or even mating, I would like to see in the senior year of college mating dynamics and help men understand and women what is unique to them and their vulnerabilities to social media. I was talking about the challenges of men from social media. At exactly the wrong time in a young girl's life, she is presented with a valuation where she never gets to leave the high school cafeteria 24/7. And as my colleague Jonathan Hyde has pointed out, we've seen a dramatic uptick in suicide. But I think effectively we just don't have basic skills for young people. We're teaching them advanced things, but we're not teaching them the basics around what a mortgage is, what interest rates mean. So I think we could use just a basic class on adulting, junior or senior year. And hey everyone.
I mean, there's so many good points he mentioned. And I like Scott Galloway. He's so smart. And he's someone that is of an older generation. I think Gen X. We can maybe say he's boomer, but I don't think so. I don't think he's 60 plus. But he's someone who's like identifies the struggles of young people. That's why a lot of the young people like him. It's like, wow, finally someone who understands me. And he understands you, but he identifies the problem, but no one's putting out the answer of how to fix the problem. I mean, the best we can do really is vote. Stop voting in the people who keep ruining our future. Look through the lies and deceptions, because they make a lot of promises, but they don't fulfill them. See who their corporate donors are. And because they have to return the promises of the corporate donors 100% of the time, or else they're not going to get reelected. And if they don't have corporate donors, they'll most likely get to the people first. I'm not angry that people are doing better than me. I'm angry the people doing better than me, actively doing things to make our lives harder. I couldn't have said it better than myself. I'm so happy I read that comment. That is so true. Buying the government was the best investment the rich ever made. Yeah, that's a lot of politicians will buy and pay for. That's why things are harder. It just narrows it down. And yet the politicians are doing an outstanding job having people divided and pointing the finger at each other. That was a powerful statement. We are replicating the most dangerous person. Young, broke, lonely, and angry men. Yeah, if you want crime to go up. I live in Boston. The rent in 2024 in Boston is $3,400 a month. Is that true? Can someone fact check that? The median home price for a very small home is $800,000. And the vast majority of jobs pay $18 to $25. Enough said, the numbers speak for themselves. I do get that like their wages are just not enough to get just a basic house. You know, your 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Nothing's crazy, nothing special, just a home. A home you can call yours with a mortgage. And it's crazy how like it's just so out of reach. And homes keep getting record-breaking high numbers. You know, it's just last month I just saw that houses now, a medium house, broke another record. It's more expensive than ever. But yet, can wages pay for it? No, they can't. Not today's wages. You have to have a very, very good job right now to be able to afford a house today in 2024. Note the transparent, immediate pivot by the guy on network payroll to blaming social media rather than following the thesis of the argument that the personal selfishness of those with power is the overwhelming cause of these problems. I'll tell you this about social media, especially like TikTok. It's what's adding to the division. It's making people angry at the wrong people. Okay, that's where I'm going to leave it with this video. It was a great, powerful video. If you haven't yet, please follow Scott Galloway. He's great. He's super smart. Other than that, please leave a comment. Tell me what you guys think below. Hit a like button and subscribe. Until next time, bye.